Oh man, here comes Arnie again.
Check this out.
What's up, Arnie? What are you doing? You made a mess in my hallway.
Hey, Arnie. Looks like you could use a hand. Let me help you.
You don't need superpowers to be a hero. Help make Hillsborough bully-free.
Don't let mosquitoes ruin your day. Fight the bite by removing standing water on your property. Standing water of any kind is a breeding ground for mosquitoes. Do your part and help reduce the mosquito population.
Visit hcfl.gov/fightthebite.
Welcome to a meeting of your Planning Commission, the official local planning agency for the cities of Tampa, Temple Terrace, Plant City, and unincorporated Hillsborough County. The Planning Commission provides innovative leadership and long-range vision that contributes to the creation of a thriving, prosperous community that offers opportunity, fairness, and choice in how we live, move, learn, work, and play. For more information about the Planning Commission, please call 813-272-5940. Follow us on social media or visit our website at planhillsborough.org.
Welcome to the July 14th, 2025 regular meeting of the Hillsborough County City-County Planning Commission. We thank you for attending this meeting. Your comments and participation are encouraged. For those attending in person and wishing to speak on any agenda item, please sign the register at the rear of the room and turn off any devices that may be a distraction. To minimize feedback in the audio, all online participants in the meeting will be muted until it is their opportunity to speak. Planning commissioners should unmute themselves to indicate that they would like to speak. Please be sure to state your name at the beginning of your remarks for the benefit of the clerk. There will be an opportunity for members of the public to provide comments. When your name is called, you will be unmuted when it is your turn to speak. Please wait until the chair calls on you to begin speaking. State your name at the beginning of your comments and adhere to the time limits. If anyone has difficulties or is watching via HTV and would like to provide comments to be included in the record for the local government hearing, please email them to planner@plancom.org. For action items, the meeting will be conducted as follows. The agenda item will be introduced. Staff will give their presentation with a 15-minute time limit. The applicant will be given the opportunity to make a presentation with a 15-minute time limit. Following presentations, members of the public may address the Planning Commission when recognized by the chair. Public comment will be heard for 3 minutes per person. The applicant will be afforded a 3-minute period for rebuttal response. Planning commissioners will ask questions. Public comment will be closed. Then upon a motion, a second, and discussion, a vote will be taken. With that introduction, I will lead us in the invocation and pledge of allegiance. If you're able, please rise. Heavenly Father, we come before you today with praise for your mighty power and guidance. We thank you for this day and thank you, too, for the many blessings in our lives, for our great country, and for the opportunity to live in freedom. We ask your blessing on our leaders, and we ask that you give each one of us here today the wisdom to make the right choices so that our decisions will be in the best interest of the people of Hillsborough County. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. With that, I'd like to ask the clerk to please go ahead and call roll.
Bowden. Buzza.
Here.
Cardenas. Kona.
Here.
Kress. Kugler.
Here.
Linkos.
Here.
Lauk. Sieben. Here. Joseph.
Here.
Orton.
Lori Belanger in her place.
Barry.
Here.
You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you. All right. The next item is the approval of the minutes for the following meetings. Hillsborough County Planning Commission regular meeting minutes, May 12, 2025. Hillsborough County Planning Commission public hearing on City of Tampa amendments meeting minutes, May 12, 2025. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move.
All right. Moved by Commissioner Buzz. Is there a second?
Second. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
All right. Second by Commissioner Linkus. Motion by Commissioner Buzza. Ms. Zornita has something to say.
Well, I'm wondering if Mr. Robin can opine as to whether or not we should swear in Mr. Kugler, so you have a quorum to take action on that. Because otherwise you only have 5 members.
Good point.
Right.
All right.
I think that's a capital idea.
Okay, great.
So what do I just kill the motion, or is it just doesn't count as a motion because there's a motion technically on the floor? So, or is it up to my discretion there?
I think that'd be up to your discretion
Okay,
in this
yeah.
circumstance.
Okay.
And deferring that would, be desirable.
Okay. All right. Then
If it helps, I withdraw my motion.
Oh, there you go. Okay. There you go. All right. Now I'll ask the clerk to go ahead and please do the swearing in of Mr. Kugler.
Mr. Kugler, if you can please stand and raise your right hand. And please repeat after me. And if you can turn on your microphone, sir.
That's right here? Yes. That one, the red button, okay, thank you.
I, please state your name,
I, Rick Kugler,
a planning commission appointee of the city of Tampa,
a planning commission appointee of the city of Tampa,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will faithfully perform the duties of my appointed office
that I will faithfully perform the duties of my appointed office
in a fair,
in a fair,
equitable, and ethical and dignified manner, and in compliance with all applicable laws
and in compliance with all applicable laws
of the state of Florida, city of Tampa, and the practices and procedures established by the Planning Commission.
established by the Planning Commission.
Thank you, sir. You may have a seat.
All right. Welcome aboard, Commissioner Kugler. Did you want to say a couple words about yourself, an introduction?
Sure. My wife and I moved to East Tampa about 6 years ago. We had been living in a van for several years, exploring Florida, and found a place we really liked. And it was during COVID, so that was a bit of a little bit of a rush game to move on with moving in somewhere safe. And my background is mostly in really two sides, construction, housing, real estate, and then the other part of my life was in education, mostly career tech, in building trades and everything else under the sun.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
All right. Now we will go back to the approval of the meeting minutes now that we have a quorum, a voting quorum. Do I have a motion for the approval, or should I say it all over again, Tracy? The whole thing? Yeah, okay. All right. All right. So we are looking at Hillsborough County Planning Commission regular meeting minutes, May 12th, 2025, and also Hillsborough County Planning Commission public hearing on City of Tampa Plan Amendments meeting minutes, May 12th, 2025. Is there a motion to approve?
I will make the motion again, sir.
Motion by Commissioner Buzza.
I'll second.
All right, second by Commissioner Linkus. Any questions, comments, discussions from the commissioners before we take our vote? Then we'll all signify their agreement by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right. Now that I'm completely scrambled up on the list here, we will move on to our next agenda item, the presentation of the plaque of appreciation to former Commissioner Hamat Saria, who I just saw walk in there. Yeah, come on down. Right, so we have a plaque of appreciation here for Commissioner Hamat Saria, and it reads, presented to Hamat Saria, City of Tampa appointee, June 2022 through June 2025, in recognition and appreciation for your exemplary service on the Hillsborough County City-County Planning Commission and vision, leadership, and commitment to improving the quality of life in our community. So congratulations, Commissioner Saria. Did you want to say a couple words? Yeah.
Oh, sure. It's been definitely a learning experience being on the side of the citizen. You always complain about things. So when you get on the board, you do see how things work, and it's one of those things that is important because you have to follow the due process. So, and I've been lucky to sit next to Tracy and learn a lot of things from on the legal side of it and how to think about things in different perspective as well. And also from all the commissioners here, especially Chair Joseph and Melissa, and the staff has been wonderful, and they've been always ready to help. And I think there's a lot of room for improvement in Tampa, and definitely the commissioners are doing a great job. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. All right. We take a picture. Let me give you your plaque here. We'll take a picture really quick.
Thank you.
I'm doing good. We're going to miss you.
Yeah, likewise.
All right. So with that covered, next item we have up is our public input, and we didn't have anyone sign up for public input. So we will move right on to item number 4, our first and only action item. Item 4A, Urban Expansion Area Planning Study Contract, Interstate 4 in Little Manatee South, and the presenter is Sophia Garantiva.
Well, good afternoon, Commissioners. Sophia Garantiva, Planning Commission staff here presenting on the contract for the Urban Expansion Area, also known as the UEA, planning study for the Interstate 4 and Little Manatee South areas. Before going into the presentation, I do recognize that this process may be new to some of the commissioners. So just quickly, any contract that is over $50,000 requires the authorization from the Planning Commission. And the contract that's included in the agenda packet, it's starting on page 3. This is our standard contract. It was also reviewed by both the consultant's legal counsel as well as our own. Exhibit A of the contract is the scope of work. And as part of the presentation, I will go over the background on the project, speak a little bit about the consultant selection process, and then go ahead and review the scope of work and the timeline. So again, briefly going over the background, many may be familiar with the origins, but to refresh everyone's memory, the process started with the future land use section update for the county. This included urban service area and growth boundary management policies, updates to that as well. And so from that, the Board of County Commissioners asked staff back in 2023 to identify some potential areas for expansion of the urban service area. And staff identified the 4 areas as shown on the map. The board then directed us to first expand the urban service area within the Waimama and Baum areas, as you can see in the orange and green, and that has now since been completed. And then we refer to this phase of work as phase 1. The board then directed us to look at the other 2 areas as a study. And this includes the Interstate 4 and Little Manatee South areas. This motion also included looking at infrastructure needs and possible funding. And again, those areas are in purple and yellow. And we are referring to this as phase 2. So the Interstate 4 or I-4 area, study area boundaries are shown here on the map. And they're generally Sam Allen Road and Thonotosassa Road to the north, James L. Redmond Parkway, Paul Butchman Highway to the east, State Road 60 to the south, and the Tampa Executive Airport and Tampa Bypass Canal to the west. And this area is approximately 37,169 acres. In total, the Little Manatee South area, again in South County, is the northern boundary is the Little Manatee River to the north, Interstate 75 to the east, and US Highway 41 to the west. The Hillsborough County Manatee County line is to the south. And this area is approximately 7,419 acres. Both study area boundaries are initial and preliminary. They may change depending on the findings of the study. And just a quick overview again of the study itself. The goal is to provide recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners on whether and where to consider future expansion of the urban service area. This work will be evaluated under the Urban Expansion Area UEA policy framework in the future land use section, specifically Objective 1.3. The estimated duration of this study is 18 months, and the contract amount is $350,000. Just wanted to note also that this study does not expand the urban service area, but again, just looking at the various analyses that we would go ahead and to consider any expansion. So going into the urban expansion area framework, again, just before we go into the selection process and the scope of work, this was adopted as part of the new future land use section for Hillsborough County, and a couple of key policies include a detailed plan to guide phase development and make new development within these plan areas, include infrastructure and planning funding, infrastructure planning and funding. This ties again with the BOCC request to include infrastructure needs and possible funding options. This is also an opportunity to implement this new policy. There's also a list of criteria that a UEA needs to address, which is what is driving the scope of work and the analysis needed. And this includes the development of locations and land use transitions along the boundaries of the study, public facility and transportation needs, environmental coordination, fiscal impact and funding strategies, as well as a community engagement component. The closest similar policy framework we could refer to is the Northeast Plant City Area Master Plan. So if those be familiar, this is a very similar policy framework to that. So due to the scope and the complexity of the Phase 2 study, additional resources were determined to be necessary. The Planning Commission staff proposes hiring a consultant as selected through our standard request for proposal process, RFP process. And as part of that process, a selection committee was formed, and it was comprised of Andrea Papandrew, who is a senior planner with the Planning Commission. It was also the co-project manager from the Phase 1 USA expansion. Rebecca Hessinger, executive planner from the Hillsborough County Community and Infrastructure Planning Department. Yanika Mills, executive planner with the Planning Commission and liaison for the City of Plant City and Temple Terrace. Wade Reynolds, the executive planner with the Transportation Planning Organization, and myself. And this RFP was released in January. We received 5 proposals from Kimley Horn, H.W. Lochner, HDR, Inspire Placemaking, and Ayers. The proposals were reviewed by the selection committee and evaluated on a scale of 100 points, with the 3 highest scoring proposals moving forward to the interview round. And those were proposals by H.W. Lochner, HDR, and Inspire Placemaking. And from the interviews, the selection committee then voted by ranked choice. Lochner was unanimously selected as the first choice. And this was based on a demonstrated understanding of the scope of services as outlined in the RFP, as well as some additional factors not evident in other proposals, like the use of an agricultural subconsultant for public engagement, and a management framework including 2 dedicated project teams, 1 for each study area. They will be led by different sub-consultants to ensure the unique needs of both areas are addressed. So the tasks organized in the scope are not necessarily in chronological order. Some of the tasks would overlap, but to keep consistent with what was presented in the scope, I'll just go over each task in order. So task 1 is data collection. This includes existing conditions, baseline data on land use, housing, mobility, infrastructure, and environmental conditions. Task 2 is community outreach. This will include a multi-format engagement across 4 meeting rounds in each area. This would also include large-scale community meetings, surveys, pop-ups at community events, and the rural agricultural stakeholder input. Details will be solidified as part of a public engagement work plan. Task 3 is the development of the urban expansion areas. This includes the real estate market study, the land use scenarios, infrastructure, including transportation and fiscal impact analysis, environmental assessment for both areas. And the methodologies for these assessments are included in the scope in more detail. I wanted to touch a little bit upon the land use scenarios. There would be 3 scenarios proposed for each area, and these would include the location of the urban service area boundary, future land uses, and any phasing associated with those areas. And from those 3, a preferred land use scenario would be part of the final deliverables. Task 4 is preparation of other materials, and this is just GIS data and policy text to support any potential comprehensive plans that may come from this. Task 5 is meetings and coordination with staff. These include regular coordination meetings, progress tracking, and formal presentation to elected and appointed officials. One of these meetings is a meeting of the Technical Advisory Committee. These are to occur every other month. The TAC would be comprised of staff from Hillsborough County departments, as well as Plant City and other partner agencies. This task also includes milestone check-in presentations to the Board of County Commissioners and Planning Commission. I just wanted to note that coordination with county departments and agencies has been ongoing. The scope was shared with our county partners for review and comment. Lastly, just wanted to review a high-level timeline for the deliverables. There's a more detailed timeline in the scope, but for the first 4 months, starting summer into fall of 2025, would include, again, that existing conditions report, finalizing a public engagement work plan, holding a kickoff meeting, which would be interdepartmental. Bi-monthly technical advisory committee meetings would also begin during this period. During the fall of 2025 into summer of 2026, these next 9 months, which are the bulk of the work, include the real estate market study, the community meeting rounds 1 through 3, again, continuation of the bi-monthly TAC meetings, and we anticipate some milestone presentations to the BOCC and the Planning Commission, and then also the land use impacts and recommendations report would be worked on. So this includes the land use scenarios, the infrastructure, environmental, and other infrastructure services assessments, as well as the fiscal impact analysis. The real estate market study would also feed into this deliverable. And then in the last 4 months, from summer to fall 2026, it would be the last round of community meetings, wrapping up our bi-monthly TAC meetings, and then the finalization of any reports or recommendations. And then finally, the Planning Commission, and both BOCC would make a presentation to both on the study results. So as such, the recommended action is that the Planning Commission authorize the Executive Director to sign the contract for the urban expansion area planning study for Interstate 4 and Little Manatee South. And that concludes my presentation. Staff and the consultant is available for any questions.
Thank you. All right, we had a couple people sign up for this one in the public comment, so I will start with those online virtually. Is Jada Steele on the line?
Mr. Chair, I don't have anybody signed in virtually for this item.
Oh, okay. All right, then we will go to the supposed in-person people, and we will start with John W. Is John W. here? Nope. All right, Steve and Lisa Casson? Steve and Lisa K? Nope. Delma Hayes? Going once, going twice. All righty. That is all we had signed up for the public comment on this one. Oh, wait, let me double check. Yep, that's all we had signed up for the public comment on this one. So does staff want to give a response or anything? No? Okay, then I will turn it over to the commissioners for questions, comments, discussions of this one. Yes.
I'm just curious about the timeline. Does that seem long, or is that,
I thought so too.
Is that standard?
Question.
Well, given that we're going to be doing multiple rounds of outreach, I don't think that that's a bad outer end. I mean, certainly we're going to aim to do it as quickly as possible, but I think we wanted to put an outer, the word's escaping me, but you know, the length that we thought would be the maximum it could take. Okay. But certainly we'll be aiming to get it done faster than that.
Any question, Commissioner Linkus?
Yeah, it looked like a very thorough work plan and one that would be quite time consuming. So I did want to just say that I thought that some of the layers that were involved in the proposal looked very helpful. I really liked the idea of the agricultural consultant. I thought that's a very helpful idea. And the market analysis, I think, is really fundamental to this kind of work. So it seemed like a deep dive, and I can't imagine it would be time consuming. One thought occurred to me, I think, and I probably didn't fully process where the boundaries were, but I think we've already seen with the previous urban service area boundary expansion, the idea of, if you're going to go out to the road, then why not just go across the road too with more development? So not that that's anything that changes this decision today, but just something to potentially think about how to deal with that issue.
Good comments. I also had a couple thoughts. And this may not be in the purview of this section because we're obviously dealing with planning stuff here, but some big things that I thought were missing, and as we go forward, I think they're going to become glaring for staff and for the consultant and for the Board of County Commissioners. The land development code is going to ultimately change because of this. And throughout the presentation or this information, I didn't see a lot of reference to impacts of the land development code. Maybe that's something Planning Commission staff's going to do as a secondary, because obviously the consultant's doing this and our staff's going to actually take this and then make the actual, do or don't change the urban service boundary movement for the Board of County Commissioners. So maybe in that movement, our staff can get with county staff and look at land development code. But at some point, we're all going to realize that we can talk about land use all we want, but the visceral reality of it is it comes to the ground in the land development code. So we can spend all this money and take all this time. If we don't recognize that and start to talk about that, now we're going to run into trouble. And the second one is zoning. There's, and that's not the purview of this board. But this board didn't start this study. The Board of County Commissioners did, right? And it's ultimately for their information. So as you walk through this with the consultant, as staff moves through this, I think it's important that, again, at the staff level, you all start to think about the zoning implications of this as it goes forward, because these are big kind of moves we're making in the community. I didn't really see that in the consultant's write-up. There's a big focus on land use, which is great. But again, ultimately, these things are going to come up, I think, at some point in the future for all of us because we live here and deal with it. So we might want to think about that as we go forward. So I just want to add that in there. Welcome. No, you're good.
No, I think that's great feedback and absolutely something that the Development Services Department has been very involved in the scoping process, and I think will continue to be very involved to see what aspects are needed to change in terms of implementation. And I think we would be looking to, as we look at what is the phasing of this, then what are the recommendations on phasing of zoning changes to implement that? Because there are probably a host of different approaches we could pursue.
Okay. And my next question, obviously, after saying all those things was, are we ready for that? Because that, they're going to do this study and they're going to finish this study, and then I could see at the end of this study, which probably isn't that big of a deal because my time might be up at that point in time in history, but the Board of County Commissioners is going to want to take some action, and obviously this agency is going to be the link to that action. So, that's something I wanted to put out there on the radar.
Yeah,
like,
I think
big.
a lot depends on to some degree what the recommendations are. Right. We very successfully did major changes to the urban service area boundary over large geography this last year with good public outreach, but that is a process to go through. If it's set up more like the Northeast Master Plan, that is more reactive to individual applicants coming in. And then there's probably a lot of things in between those two choices where it's completely reactive to applicants coming in and making the application versus us taking the initiative and doing all of the plan amendment change. And I'll be interested to see what the consultant team comes up with in terms of recommendations on that phasing and how we approach it.
Okay. Yep, go ahead.
So this is, I was going to bring this up later, but it seems like it might be a good time to talk about it now. We haven't talked about it in here, but Senate Bill 180 passed on July 1st, which I think was a reaction to the hurricanes, but basically the purpose of it, from what I understand, is to, remove impediments from rebuilding after the hurricanes, and it provides a 1-year moratorium on any restrictive land development or land use regulations, and I'm just wondering if you guys had considered that as part of this, and then, for everything else, I guess, that we need to consider, do we need to be looking at that as part of the way in which we implement some of these regulations?
Yes, and that was something I was going to bring up as part of my executive director's report, was that legislation was signed since our last meeting, and so that does kind of put a lens on all that we're doing that we need to look through. In discussions with the county on this, that's part of the reason why we want to be very clear, this is a planning study. We are not proposing a plan amendment as directly as a part of this, because the county attorney's office wants to have the opportunity to be able to look at the recommendations and make sure that they are in line with that standard of not more burdensome or restrictive. We're looking at hopefully enabling more development rights in this area, but some of the creative solutions, we just want to make sure we have time to vet that before it enters a plan amendment stage, because what the legislation says is that you cannot even propose a plan amendment that's more restrictive or burdensome. So we're not proposing anything as part of this until we get it well vetted. And certainly we are working with our partners at the city and their legal team on projects we have going forward to the city. Likewise, we would with Plant City or Temple Terrace.
Okay. So should we be I guess this is a question for Tracy, should we be considering that with everything that we see starting today, is that we can't approve anything that's more restrictive than what's currently in place?
I think the answer is yes, and I think that your staff is working so that we will not be bringing you something that
Okay.
doesn't meet that standard.
Understood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions, comments, discussion items? Tracy, turn off your mic. Yeah, thanks. Not seeing any, then I will go ahead and close the public comment on this item and open it up to motions from the commissioners. Anyone? Commissioner Buzza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Are we going for motions?
Yes.
Yeah, that's something to make sure. I'd like to move that we approve the urban expansion area planning study contract, please.
All right. You have a motion of approval directing the executive director to sign the contract from Commissioner Buzza. Is there a second to that motion out there anywhere?
I'll second.
All right, second by Commissioner Linkus. Are there any questions, comments, or discussions from the commissioners before we take this vote? Not seeing any, then we'll all signify their agreement by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, that is our only action item for this meeting. So we will move on to our briefings, and the first one is 5A, TACPA 2505 Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment, 1300 Harbor and Channelside Street, and the presenter is Danny Collins.
Good afternoon, Danny Collins with your Planning Commission staff. Today I'll be presenting TACPA 2505. This is a map amendment for the property located at 1300 East Harbor and Channelside Street. This is a privately initiated amendment. It's small scale in size. The subject site's approximately 5.45 acres. The site currently does not have a future land use designation. The request is to amend the site to the public, semi-public designation. The subject site's located in the Central Tampa Planning District. It's within the Channel District Urban Village. It's within the Channel District CRA, within the Port Activity Center, and it is shown here on our locational map. Here is an aerial map of the subject site and the surrounding properties. The subject site's outlined in this yellow color. It's generally just to the to the east of East Twig Street and Channelside Drive. This is the Ybor Channel to the east of the subject site. Directly to the south, we have one of the cruise terminals for Port Tampa Bay. And then to the west on Channelside Drive, we have a mixture of uses, offices, light commercial, and multifamily uses. Here is the adopted future land use map. So as I mentioned, the subject site currently does not have a future land use designation. It is actually, it contains surface waters. To the south of the subject site and also to the west, we have the RMU 100 designation. We have some heavy industrial to the north. And then directly across the channel, we have some UMU 60, which was changed in the early 2000s. And then further to the east, there was a recent amendment back in 2022. The subject site is within the coastal high hazard area. Here is the proposed future land use map. So as mentioned earlier, the site would be recognized under the public, semi-public future land use designation. So currently, since it doesn't have a future land use designation, it doesn't have any development maximums because it doesn't have a future land use category. So as proposed under the public, semi-public designation, the maximum is not defined at this time. That is determined by the compatibility with the surrounding development pattern. So the proposed amendment would introduce the potential for public and supporting public uses on the site. Again, the maximums for the category would be determined by compatibility with surrounding area. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commissioners on this one? Did you say this was publicly initiated or privately initiated?
Privately initiated.
Privately initiated.
But the applicant is the port.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Are there any other questions, comments from commissioners? Well, thank you for the information. Look forward to it coming back and move on to our next agenda item, 5B, TACPA 25-06, Comprehensive Plan Text Amendment, Recreation and Open Space, Capital Improvements, Solid Waste, Intergovernmental Coordination, and Definition section of the Tampa Comprehensive Plan Update. And the presenter is Katrina Corcoran.
Good afternoon, Katrina Corcoran, Planning Commission staff. Thank you for saying all those section updates so that I don't have to say them again. But I'm here today to present on TACPA 2506. Again, this is a text amendment on several section updates, as you can see listed on this slide. So starting off with our first section update, we have recreation and open space. Our section includes, our objectives include access to recreation and open spaces, current and future needs and demands. So as the city of Tampa grows, making sure that we maintain and wherever possible create new parks and preserve those open spaces. And then conservation, resilience, and sustainability. So we have an environmental section, but making sure that we have an objective here that looks at recreation and open space and how that relates to resilience and sustainability. So this section provides long-range policy direction on existing and future recreation and open space needs. You'll see this throughout my presentation, but the draft language has been updated, streamlined, and rearranged. We do have some notable new topics, including access and health. So for example, with access, we have a policy that talks about partnerships for things such as open streets or pop-up parks or parklets. Related to health, we have a policy that talks about partnerships between the city and organizations that might support access to healthy food. We also have policy language on resilience and sustainability. So again, specific to recreation and open space. So maintaining those parks as green spaces that can take on water for like flooding, also have those open spaces for people to enjoy. We also have updates to the Parks and Recreation Level of Service, or LOS. That has notably been moved to the capital improvements section. So we worked with the Parks and Recreation Department to make sure that those level of service standards were in line with what the department is working on. Our next section is capital improvements. Our objectives include maintaining a sustainable capital improvements program, or CIP, for growth and repair, adherence to level of service, or LOS standards. So within the capital improvements section, we have two types of level of service. We have adopted level of service, which is required by state statute for the city to meet. Examples of that include stormwater, potable water. For level of service, we also have target level of service. So this is not required by state statute to meet, but it's something that's useful for planning purposes. So an example of that would be mobility level of service. We have policy language on enhancing resilience and sustainability as it relates to capital improvements. So think of retrofitting existing facilities or looking at resilience assessments for capital improvements projects. We also have policy language on promoting citywide resource allocation. So again, this is making sure that capital improvements projects aren't just located in one area of the city, they're geographically dispersed. And finally, we have policy language on collaborative decision-making, so ensuring that there are touch points with the publics on these capital improvements projects. The capital improvement section provides long-range policy direction on infrastructure, capital projects, and funding. Again, it's been updated and streamlined for the section. It does include that LOS and concurrency standards that I mentioned previously, and it guides the annual CIP review and schedule of projects development that you'll see later this fall from all the jurisdictions, including the city of Tampa. Notable new projects include project resiliency and sustainability, again, looking at that retrofitting or resilience assessments as it relates to capital improvements projects, and neighborhood and community engagement. So this is kind of a heavier topic, if you will. It's a little harder to understand, a lot of money, so making sure that there are those touch points with the public and that we have that memorialized in our policy language. Our third section today is solid waste. Our objectives include continuing to have public health and safety as priorities when looking at the solid waste management and disposal process. Continuing to evaluate and make sure that the environment is protected when removing debris and solid waste. Adherence to standards that are set while also incorporating best practices. Continuing to reduce waste through the implementation of sustainable practices and education, so think of recycling education. And then finally, language on adaptation to natural hazards. So think pre and post storm, making sure that there's a plan for where debris will be moved and then removed after a storm event. Solid waste provides long-range policy direction on the solid waste disposal and management for the city of Tampa. Again, it's been updated and streamlined. Notable new topics include integrated solid waste management, so making sure that the solid waste department is working with other departments as necessary. resilience of operations in storm events, so really making sure that there's a plan for what to do with debris before and after a storm. And then finally, efficiencies via emerging technologies. So think of optimizing solid waste disposal, the routes that we have, and then incorporating any new technologies into the solid waste process. Our fourth section that we have today is intergovernmental coordination. The objectives here include multi-jurisdictional planning coordination, so making sure that Tampa is not planning within a silo. We also have policy language on environmental issues and topics, as well as regional transportation planning. There's also policy language on schools planning and port/airport master planning. This is, again, long-range policy direction on coordination between different agencies, the governments and departments, and it talks about efficiency in government. This draft language has been updated and streamlined. I'd really like to emphasize the streamlined part on this. This section had a lot of policy language that was very detailed on certain things that isn't necessary for the comprehensive plan. We do have topics such as coordination mechanisms between jurisdictions, important regional topics such as land use, environmental, and transportation impacts, and then master plan and local area authority reviews and coordination. So for example, the Tampa International Airport Master Plan, which you all received, I believe it was last year, and policy language on that directs the Planning Commission to review and coordinate on those master plans. Finally, our fifth and final section is the definition section. So this section aims to have standardized definitions for key terms used within the comprehensive plan. It does ensure consistency and clarity across all sections and policies. What we've done here is looking at the definition section, you'll notice that there's a lot of removed definitions. So we are working with city legal to make sure that if a term can be reasonably defined elsewhere, so that's within the dictionary, the land development code, that we take that out of our definition section. A good example that I've been using is the term garbage. So that's actually defined within our comprehensive plan, but you could really look that up in the dictionary and have a reasonable definition for garbage. A good example of something that we might want to keep that's very specific to the comprehensive plan would be a bonus ceiling. So that's very specific to the bonuses within the comprehensive plan, and it makes sense for us to have that defined within the definition section. So again, the intent here is to improve interpretation and application of policies by decision makers, developers, and the public with the definition section. With public engagement, we do have our Live, Grow, Thrive 2045 website. So this has all of our section updates for the overall Tampa Comprehensive Plan update. We also specifically have a project page for TACPA 2506. We have a public comment box that's been open since June and will continue to be open throughout July. We do have comparative crosswalks showing what's new and existing for all of these sections. You can see the graphic here on the right showing the different sections, probably pretty small, but that's our project page. And it's also hyperlinked at the bottom here. We did have a in-person and virtual meeting for all of these section updates in June, and we're able to answer questions and get feedback from the community at those meetings. In terms of next steps, we will be reviewing the public comments that we received as well as any Planning Commission feedback and comments. We'll be back in front of you on August 11th for the Planning Commission public hearing. We'll be in front of City Council for a transmittal hearing on October 30th, and then early next year we'll be in front of the City Council for our first adoption hearing. This concludes my presentation. I did want to give a shout out to other staff that have worked on these, including Melissa Dickens, Erica Larson, and Diego Guerra, as well as Jennifer Malone as the co-lead on this entire update. So while I'm presenting this myself today, definitely other staff helped with this. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions, comments from the planning commissioners? Go ahead, Commissioner Lucas.
I'll just make a quick observation that I actually taught a class last week. I'm teaching coastal planning for USF graduate students, and we went through and looked at we side by side compared the old and the new sections and the under review section in that case. But the streamlining is just so evident, and the students really commented on how easy it is to comprehend the new sections, and doing that is not necessarily easy. It looks so simple, but cutting all that policy language down to something as concise as you all have done on some of these sections is to be commended. So I really thought that's impressive. And then I do think the focus on resiliency and engagement really positions the community to go after more partnerships, greater funding. So I think that's well done.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments from the commissioners? I'll just give you a heads up because we have a meeting coming up to discuss this. I started reading through it in reverse order because I'm crazy like that. And I love definitions. So I got through the definition section, and so far I'm really impressed by it. So relax. It should be a good meeting for us. So.
Thank you.
There any other questions, comments from the commissioners? Not seeing any. We'll thank you for the information, and we will move on to our next agenda item. 5C, TACPA 25-07, Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment, 3714 North 39th Street, and the presenter is Emily Phelan.
Good afternoon, Emily Phelan, Planning Commission staff. This is TACPA 2507, located at 3714 North 39th Street. This request is privately initiated, small scale. It's approximately 1.08 acres, and the request is to go from transitional use 24 and light industrial to heavy industrial. It's located in the Central Tampa Planning District, the East Tampa Urban Village, and the Jackson Heights neighborhood. This is an aerial of the subject site. It's outlined in pink. The surrounding area is a mixture of uses. To the north, along Lindell Avenue and also East 32nd Avenue are single-family detached homes that would face the subject site. To the west is a place of religious assembly. To the south is vacant land. And to the east is a mix of industrial and commercial uses. This is the adopted future land use map. The subject site is outlined in black. The northern portion of the subject site in the burgundy color is a transitional use 24 designation, which does run further north all the way to Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and all the way over to North 40th Street. And the remaining portion of the subject site that is in the light gray, that is the light industrial designation, which is present to the west, south, and also the east of the subject site. This is the proposed future land use map. Again, the subject site is outlined in black, and the very dark gray is the heavy industrial designation. Under the existing transitional use 24 and the light industrial designation, the subject site can be considered for 5 units on the transitional use 24 designation only, as the light industrial does not allow residential. And it would allow up to a little over 70,700 square feet of non-residential uses. Under the proposed HI designation, residential is not allowed, and the square footage remains the same as the FARs for all categories are the same. The proposed HI designation would result in a loss of residential density, and the commercial intensity would remain the same. However, the range of uses would be expanded. And that concludes my presentation, if you have any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commissioners on this one? Yes, please go ahead, Ms. Kugler.
Yes, would it be appropriate to ask the nature of the heavy industrial? I believe that's a heavier, as we're moving toward heavier industrial, is this the right time to ask what the nature of that? For instance, there are homes nearby, and I'm concerned that if it's heavy industrial, the noxious fumes and things like that could be a consideration for sure.
The subject site is currently a concrete batch facility.
Okay.
If that helps.
So the goal is to ramp up the production of concrete?
It currently is a non-conforming use under the LI designation, as it is a heavy industrial use, which is not allowed in the light industrial designation, which is why the applicant is asking for heavy industrial for the whole site.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good?
Thank you.
All right. You turn off, don't forget to turn off your mic. Thank you. Are there any other questions, comments from the commissioners? I have a quick question. You said it's non-conforming. Are they being fined? Are they, if they've been caught or being fined? Are they? Oh, Evan's here. I forgot.
I just don't know if we can comment on that at this time.
Okay,
at this
that's
juncture.
fine.
Yeah,
That's fine.
and that is
Respect that.
when we come back for the public hearing, and we'll coordinate with Evan on providing maybe a list of uses that can be considered in heavy industrial but not in light industrial, because it does expand those noxious uses. So we'll be prepared with that information.
Can you state your name for the record for me, please?
Jennifer Malone, Planning Commission staff.
Thank you, Ms. Malone. All right, are there any other questions, comments from the commissioners? Not seeing any. We'll thank you for the information, and we will move on to our next agenda item, 5D, TACPA 2508, Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment 2306 North Boulevard, and the presenter is Meg McCarthy.
Emily Phelan, Planning Commission staff. Before I turn it over to Meg, I do want to address, we have questions about the folio number that is listed on the briefing. Planning Commission staff will take a look at that, and we will make sure that everything is perfectly fine on the hearing when it comes back in August.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Good afternoon, Megan McCarthy, Planning Commission staff. This is a briefing for TA CPA 2508 located at 2306 North Boulevard. This amendment is privately initiated, small scale, and encompasses approximately 0.17 acres. The request is to go from a residential 10 FLU designation to a residential 20 future land use designation. The subject site is located within the Central Tampa Planning District and the Ridgewood Park neighborhood. This is an aerial of the subject site and the surrounding areas, with the subject site outlined in pink. The surrounding area is a mixture of uses, including detached single family to the north and west. To the south is scattered vacant lands, and to the east is a mix of single family attached and single family detached. This is the adopted future land use map. The subject site is shown outlined in black and is designated under the residential 10 FLU category. The subject site is located directly north of the R20 FLU designation as a result of adopted TACPA 2219. North and west of the site is the R10 FLU designation, and east of North Boulevard is the Tampa Heights Urban Village and the R35 designation. This is the proposed future land use map showing the site under the proposed residential 20 designation. Under the adopted FLU of residential 10, the site can be considered for one dwelling unit, and the site could be considered for 2,591 square feet of commercial uses subject to locational criteria. Under the proposed R20 designation, the site could be considered for 3 residential development units and 3,702 square feet of commercial uses subject to locational criteria. The proposed R20 designation would result in the increase of commercial and residential intensity and would allow for multifamily uses. Any non-residential uses would be subject to locational criteria, which is expanded under the R20 designation. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions, comments, discussion items from the commissioners? Not seeing any, then we'll thank you for the information and move on to our next item, 5E, TACPA 2509, Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment 2602, East 7th Avenue and associated parcels, and the presenter is Quinn Steele.
All right, good afternoon, Quinn Steele, Planning Commission staff. Today I'll be presenting TACPA 2509, which is a map amendment for 2602 East 7th Avenue and associated parcels. The request before you is privately initiated and small scale, covering approximately 7.42 acres. The request is to change the future land use designation from light industrial and general mixed use 24 to urban mixed use 60 and community commercial 35. The subject site is located within the Central Tampa Planning District, the historic East Ybor and Gary neighborhood, and the Port Activity Center. Additionally, portions of the site are within the Ybor City Urban Village, the local historic district, and the CRA. Here's an aerial photo of the subject site, which is outlined in blue. It's located just north of the CSX rail line here and west of the Selma Connector. This rail line runs along the southern and eastern boundaries of the subject site and serves as the main line connecting to the port. The red dashed line marks the boundary between the light industrial designation to the east and the general mixed use 24 designation to the west. It also marks the edge of the urban village, local historic district, and the CRA. To the west, the area has a mixture of residential, light industrial, and commercial uses. East of the red dashed line, the area is predominantly industrial with uses such as warehousing, manufacturing, and a cremation center. North of East 8th Avenue, the land is designated residential 20 and the area is mostly single family detached. I just wanted to show this map as context for additional plan amendments that are going to come through in this cycle with similar requests. These total over 50 acres, and those will be covered in the next two agenda items. You may remember this area from the November 2024 cycle. It was briefed in January. That request was withdrawn and resubmitted in this cycle, May 2025, with additional land. During the last briefing, we were asked to look into the remaining industrial land in the area. Tampa has about 6,100 acres of industrial land remaining and only 330 acres available for future development. If all three of these amendments were approved, this cycle alone would be equivalent to about half of the city's total lost industrial land over the last decade. This map shows the site's current designation as light industrial and general mixed use 24, and that general mixed use 24 is west of North 26th Street. The surrounding the site to the northeast, east, and south are the heavy industrial and light industrial designations. To the west, we see the GMU 24 and the community commercial 35, and then further north, we see residential 20. There are two pockets of UMU 60 to the south, which were plan amendments from 2017. Those are down here. This is the Lecter 85 apartment complex, and this site remains vacant. Additionally, most of the site falls within the coastal high hazard area, which is outlined in that green line, except for this parcel here. The westernmost parcel falls outside of the CHHA. That extends from the bay to the south and runs north almost up to I-4. This map shows the proposed future land uses of UMU 60 and CC 35. So the light industrial here would be proposed to change to UMU 60, which would allow 60 units an acre or 3.25 FAR, and the general mixed use 24 to CC 35, which would allow 35 dwelling units an acre or a 2.0 FAR. Under the current light industrial and general mixed use 24 designations, the site could allow up to 14 dwelling units, but only on the GMU 24 portion, since residential isn't permitted in light industrial. It could also allow just over 484,000 square feet of non-residential uses. With the proposed UMU 60 and CC 35 designations, that could increase to 429 dwelling units or just over 1 million square feet of development, either residential or non-residential. If approved, the amendment would allow residential uses on land currently designated industrial and remove industrial uses across the site. It would also more than double the density and intensity overall. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions, comments from the commissioners on this one? Not seeing any. Thank you for the information, and we will move on to our next agenda item, 5F, TACPA 25-10, Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment, 2801 East 4th Avenue, and associated parcels, and the presenter is Quinn Steele.
Thank you again. Quinn Steele, Planning Commission staff. This is TACPA 2510, which is a map amendment for 2801 East 4th Avenue and associated parcels. The request before you is privately initiated and small scale, covering 20.64 acres. The request is to change the future land use designation from heavy industrial to urban mixed use 60. The site is located within the Central Tampa Planning District, the historic East Ybor and Gary neighborhood, and the Port Activity Center. Here's an aerial photo of the subject site, which is outlined in yellow. It's situated north of Adamo Drive, west of the Selma Connector, and south of the CXX rail line right here. And just north, that was TACPA 2509. The red dashed line marks the boundary between the heavy industrial designation to the east and the Ybor City Urban Village Local Historic District and the CRA to the west. To the west, the area includes a mix of residential, light industrial, and commercial, and east is primarily industrial with uses such as warehousing, manufacturing, and a cremation center. And just southwest of the site here, this is IKEA. The site is currently designated heavy industrial. The surrounding site to the northeast and south are heavy and light industrial designations. Again, there are two pockets of UMU 60 here, which are the Lecter 85 apartment complex and the vacant land. To the southwest, the IKEA store sits within the Community Mixed Use 35 designation. And then we see CC 35 here to the northwest, and further north is Residential 20. The green line shows the boundary for the coastal high hazard area, which covers the entire site. This map shows the proposed future land use designation as urban mixed use 60, which would allow 60 units per acre or 3.25 FAR. Under the current heavy industrial designation, residential development is prohibited, but the site may be considered for just over 1.3 million square feet of non-residential uses. With the proposed urban mixed use 60 designation, it can allow up to 1,238 dwelling units or just over 2.9 million square feet of residential or non-residential uses. If approved, the amendment could introduce residential uses and remove the potential for industrial across the site. It would also more than double the density and intensity overall. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commissioners? Comments on this one? Not seeing. Oh, Commissioner Kress.
Quinn, could you go back and tell us that stat you said about the amount of industrial land available? And I'm assuming that'll be in your report.
It will be, yes.
For next month.
So we have 6,100 acres of industrial land remaining and only 330 acres available for future development. If all three were approved, which is a total of just over 50 acres, it would be equivalent to half of the land lost, industrial land lost over the last decade. So over the last decade, it's been about 100 acres that we've lost.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions? Thank you for those numbers, by the way, Ms. Steele, and also you, Ms. Malone. I know you probably had something to do with that after hearing about me talk about industrial for years up here. So thank you for that information.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions, comments? Not seeing any. Well, thank you, and move on to our next agenda item, 5G, TACPA 2511, Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment, multiple folios at the southeast corner of North 26th Street and East Adamo Drive, and the presenter is Danny Collins. There we go.
There we go. Danny Collins with your Planning Commission staff. I will be presenting TACPA 2511. This is a map amendment for multiple folios that are located at the southeast corner of North 26th Street and East Adamo Drive. This is a privately initiated amendment. It's small scale in size. Subject site's approximately 22.29 acres. And the request is to change the future land use from heavy industrial to the urban mixed use 60 future land use designation. The subject site is within the Central Tampa Planning District. It's within the Palmetto Beach neighborhood. It's also within the Port Activity Center, and it is shown here on our locational map. Here is an aerial map of the subject site and the surrounding properties. This amendment is actually just to the south of the last one that Quinn just went over, just on the south side of Adamo. It's at the southeast corner of East Adamo Drive and North 26th Street. Directly to the west, we have IKEA. To the north, we have some industrial uses. And then to the northwest, we have the Ybor City Urban Village, which contains a mixture of uses, multifamily, offices, light commercial type uses. The subject site is recognized under the heavy industrial future land use designation. It's denoted by this dark gray color on our map. There's a clear line between industrial, which is located to the east of North 26th Street, and more of that mixed use that's located to the west of North 26th Street. So to the west, we have Community Mixed Use 35. We have UMU 60 to the northwest. This is an apartment building. And then to the north, we have heavy industrial. We do have two parcels here that are recognized as urban mixed use 60, which were on plan amendment a few years back. Here is the proposed future land use map recognizing the site under the urban mixed use 60 designation. So this is one of the higher mixed-use plan categories in the city. It allows development up to 60 dwelling units per acre or up to a 3.25 FAR. So currently, under the heavy industrial designation, residential uses are not permitted. The subject site can be considered for just over 456,000 square feet of non-residential uses. As proposed under the urban mixed-use 60 designation, the subject site can be considered for a maximum of 1,337 dwelling units, or just over 3.1 million square feet of residential or non-residential uses. This request will introduce the potential residential uses while also eliminating the industrial uses that can be considered on the site. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions, comments from the commissioners on this? Yes, Commissioner Kugler.
Just one, I've seen it on a couple of the slides now. It appears that the area that's considered heavy industrial includes what I think of as Coppertail Brewery, right across from Lecter. Is that just a mislabeled area on the map?
No, those, like a brewery would be a use that can be considered in one of the industrial categories.
As heavy, that would be heavy industrial.
Yeah,
okay.
you know, it's just to add, the urban village boundary is to the northwest, on the south side of Adamo, and then to the east of North 26th Street. That's the Port Activity Center boundary.
Okay.
So there is a kind of that defined transition between them.
It's a mixture of port activity, but restaurants and things too as well. Okay, thank you.
All right. Are there any other? Yes, Commissioner Kress.
Yeah, and I'm sure, Melissa, you plan on doing this with your team, but as much context you can give us in advance of all of this, potential, reduction in light industrial would be really helpful for us to make a decision next month.
All right. Any other questions, comments from the commissioners? Seeing any, well, thank you for the information. And we will move on to our next agenda item, 5H, TACPA 25-12, Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment, 3618 West Euclid Avenue, and the presenter is Quinn Steele.
Quinn Steele, Planning Commission staff. I'll be presenting TACPA 25-12, which is a map amendment for 3618 West Euclid Avenue. This request before you is privately initiated and small scale, covering approximately 0.31 acres. The request is to change the future land use designation from residential 20 to community mixed use 35. The subject site is here in the general location map. It's within the South Tampa Planning District in the Fair Oaks, Manhattan neighborhood. Here's an aerial photo of the subject site, which is outlined in yellow. To the south here is Britton Plaza. To the west along Euclid Avenue are commercial and residential office uses, and then to the north and the east are single-family homes. The site is currently designated residential 20, which allows up to 20 dwelling units an acre and may be considered for limited neighborhood serving commercial uses or residential office uses at a 0.5 FAR if locational criteria is met. To the south is Britton Plaza, which is designated community commercial 35. Immediately east and west are residential 20, and to the north is residential 10. And then further east and west along Himes and South Daly is community mixed use 35. This map shows the proposed designation as community mixed use 35, which allows 35 dwelling units an acre or a 2.0 FAR. Under the current R20 designation, the site can be considered for 6 dwelling units or just over 6,700 square feet of non-residential uses. Under the proposed community mixed use 35, it can be considered for 10 units or just over 27,000 square feet of residential or non-residential uses. If approved, the amendment would introduce the potential for commercial general uses and increase the potential density and intensity overall. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Sieben, I see you moving.
This is just a quick question, but is it ever the case that an application like this comes in and then you guys do your own study as a result of an application like this to determine if something else should happen because of it? Or maybe it's enlightened some new consideration, or I'm just curious if that ever works like that.
We do regularly look at whether or not other parcels,
right, the surrounding parcels around a parcel like this.
Particularly if there's something like that's left as a remnant
right.
or something like that. In this case, we did look at it and worked with the applicant on the modification to their original proposed category to something that we felt would fit
What was their
better.
original proposed? Just curious.
Community commercial 35.
Yeah.
Which is what the red.
The red, yeah.
Could it not be argued that like maybe all of that should be red? It's just, including the other browns.
Well, I think there are a number of existing homes.
Right, for sure. But I mean, it wouldn't negatively impact those homes to change that land use, would it?
The red, and the reason why we worked with the applicant on amending the request is because the red allows commercial intensive uses.
Right.
That could be like car repair, and it's not the best category to have near homes if we can help it.
Mm-hmm.
But I do hear you, like, it sounds like you're looking at maybe us doing like looking at the corridor to allow like a little bit of a higher density to match what is occurring to the south in Britton Plaza.
I think just growing up, I never really understood why those single-family homes were abutting all that traffic in Britton Plaza to begin with. It just seemed a little dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of them turned into medical offices because the residential 20 category allows that if it meets locational criteria and Euclid is a collector. So I think that's where having that flexibility is really important because those have still been able to move into something else, but I understand what you're saying, absolutely. I just want to be very clear that Community Commercial 35, the red, might not be the best category for Euclid Avenue.
My only contention is maybe Res 20 for those homes also isn't right. And I was just curious if you guys, ever take a look at that kind of thing.
So we do, if we have staff capacity to look at something as part of something being done like concurrent with the plan amendment. There was that one on Howard Avenue that Emily had, and we brought in some additional parcels because we had the capacity to take that on. This is a larger number of parcels. Recently, you all, as one of your hearings, gave us direction to look at Beta Bay, and gave us a couple months to look at that. So we're working on that. So that might be a more comparable situation to this. If you all wanted to give us some direction to look at this segment of Euclid, we could.
In doing so, would we just make a motion to request that you guys take a look at it, or is it? Okay.
Yeah. It's simple as that.
Commissioner Kugler.
Thank you. Yes, to kind of follow up on Alyssa's comments, at what point is it proper for us to specify or at least be mindful of the mixed use as a problem? I know in some areas of the city they've had difficulty with mixed use becoming a bar. And it didn't close at restaurant hours. It closed at 3 in the morning, and it was quite loud. Rooftop bars. Do we have any way to input on that sort of question when it comes to approving projects?
So, most of that level of detail is handled through the zoning. Now, if there are certain concerns about we have to look at the full range of uses that are allowed in the land use category. So if there are concerns about some part of that range, that may speak to whether or not the land use is appropriate in the location.
Okay. But we sort of have to, it's yes or no. It's not we can't nuance it by saying, well, you can't do these things.
Yeah, unfortunately, we cannot condition a plan amendment like we can a zoning.
Thank you.
Sure.
Jennifer Malone, Planning Commission, that was such a great question, and it spurred something that I wanted to talk about. That is one of the reasons why the R20 along Euclid might be providing that transition and that compatibility for the neighborhood, because if it did go into a more intense category, then those uses would open up. So I just wonder if maybe that when the map was created a long time ago, that was probably the thought process, is that maybe it should be a little lower to protect the neighborhood.
All right, Commissioner Linkus.
I wanted to ask staff, in case there's a motion to look at Euclid, how does that interface with the current future land use updates? Is that an area that is where the community is currently concerned about changing the land use patterns?
I don't have the map in front of me. I cannot recall if Euclid is a proposed transit-ready corridor. I do know that Southdale Mayberry Highway is. This site is out of the coastal high hazard area. Yes. That definitely would be an argument for looking at it with increased density. But in short, to answer your question, we don't get a lot of interest and calls on this corridor. Yeah.
I guess just the thinking is this is community, generally this area probably is feeling under a little bit of duress about development coming in, so it's something to consider.
Yeah, I know that there is a little bit of anxiety about Britton Plaza and what that might bring. And maybe as part of a future phase of the plan update, that, that would be something we could look at, this corridor, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I would just add to what Jennifer said by saying that I think some of what we've heard is folks in South Tampa, anything south of Kennedy, being concerned about increased density, given the fact that they're on a peninsula, even if they're outside of the coastal high hazard area. Some of the feedback we heard, particularly through council's hearing in May, was that they did not want to see even the increase to allow townhomes, for example, off some of these corridors. So I do think that's something we would have to, as part of any process to study a corridor, we would reach out to the property owners, we would reach out to the surrounding neighborhoods and get input before making a recommendation to you all.
All right, Commissioner Sieben.
While I do know that, the South Tampa community can be vocal about not wanting increased residential density, I have heard tell that there is a desire for more mixed use, retail and restaurant. And it seems to me like this step down maybe from the big parking lots of Britton Plaza to maybe some smaller, restaurant type or, retail type options here may be helpful, as opposed to stepping down, with the rear of the property abutting Britton Plaza. At least you have the street in between. So these might be good options for services like that to people in South Tampa who can't find, real estate for those kind of things.
All right, good points. Any more questions, comments, discussion items from the commissioners on this one? Not seeing any, then we'll thank you for the information, and we will move on to our next agenda item. 5I, City of Tampa Land Development Code Text Amendments. Number 1, 27-61, review hearing. Number 2, 27-150, final decision by City Council and withdrawal of application. Number 3, 27-156, Table 4-2, 27-283.10, 27-283.17, garage and parking standards. Yep.
Sorry, can I go back, or should I wait till after? For the last one we were just talking about, if I wanted to make a motion to ask that the planning commission.
It wasn't an action item. You can make a motion anytime you want to. So yeah, it was just a briefing. It comes back before us next month for action. You might want to wait till then to make that motion to see how the board kind of feels then, or you can make it now. It's up to you. It's your purview in this meeting, but you can do it at any point in the meeting. So.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Melissa, would you think it's more beneficial to do something like that now, or wait until it's heard?
I think it might be good to wait until it's heard, so it doesn't look like you've prejudged the plan amendment.
Okay, understood. Appreciate it.
Point. All right. Oh, wait, I was in the middle of my stuff. All right. Number 4, 27-43 and 27-211, Seminole Heights build to line. Number 5, 27-60, alternative designs. Number 6, 27-71, site plan requirements for design exceptions and variance review board. Number 7, 27-118, approvals by the ARC administrator. Number 8, 27-132, special use criteria. Number 9, 27-156, table 4-2, elimination of footnote number 7. Number 10, 27-284.2.5, arborist report for any tree removal. Number 11, 27-284, 3.3, landscape area and tree planting requirements. Number 12, 27-290.6, air conditioning and pool equipment. And the presenter is Emily Phelan.
Emily Phelan, Planning Commission staff. Thank you for reading all of that. There are As you just heard, 12 of them. I will go over them individually, and I will stop after each one for any opportunities for questions. So the first one is the review hearing. All petitions would go directly to City Council, which would eliminate the hearing officer requirement. Under the adopted code, all petitions covered by this section are either required to be reviewed by a hearing officer or may elect such a review. The proposed amendment would eliminate the hearing officer process, and everything would go to City Council for their final consideration.
Any questions on this one from the commissioners? Not seeing any, we'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, the second one, the final decision by City Council and withdrawal of application. This would remove the ability of the zoning administrator to waive the 12-month waiting period for a new application when an applicant addresses the reason for denial. Currently, the zoning administrator may waive the 12-month waiting period if a comprehensive plan map amendment has become effective or the request has addressed the grounds for denial during the initial public hearing.
All right, Commissioner Buzza.
Yes, I wanted to, what was the motivation for that? Obviously, if they've corrected the issue and they resubmit for a waiver, we're going to still make them wait 12 months?
That was a legal.
Hey, gone.
I'm going to turn it to city staff to answer that one.
All right.
Hi, good afternoon. Dana Crosby, Collier City Attorney's Office. That was a council-initiated amendment, and it just evolved through their discussions on the dais as to how they wanted to see future applications come in.
All right. Seeing no other questions, we'll turn it back over to you to continue.
Okay. The third one, garage and parking standards. This amends criteria for the driveway length and tandem parking and creates standards for single-family residential garages and carports. This would require an 18-foot setback from the property line for a garage, carport, or vehicular storage area. Currently, there are no standards that specifically address single-family residential garage and carport standards, and this addition would set forth regulations for a one-car and two-car garage or carports.
All right. Commissioner Sieben.
So I have a couple comments on not just this one, but a couple of them, but I'll start with this one. I had mentioned before that the Senate Bill 180 and not being allowed to do anything that's more restrictive, has these things been looked at in consideration of that update?
Dana Crosby, Collier City Attorney's Office. Senate Bill 180 was signed into law by the governor on June 26th. It's a relatively new law. It does retroactively date back to August 1 of 2024. So at this time, we are evaluating Senate Bill 180 in conjunction with things we've done since August 1, 2024, as well as things that are in this current cycle of amendments and our next July 2025 cycle. So we're looking at all of the amendments right now and evaluating them on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. I would contend that some of these are pretty restrictive. And in addition to that, I would say I think some of them take consideration of, property rights maybe into consideration because, the land development code, my understanding was to make provisions about land development, and some of these are internal garage sizes. So to me, that should be left to, builders or the Florida Building Code if it's a hazard, if it's hazardous. But considering, the city of Tampa isn't constructing these houses, I think those are considerations that maybe should be left to residents for their preferences on what those or people who, property owners and their preferences on what those sizes should be, and maybe not, the city. And similar comment goes for tandem parking. That's a consideration I think that should be left to, builders or property owners if the site, requires it or is small to the point where it might be helpful. Why would we be so restrictive as to say that these property owners can't park in a tandem fashion? And then my last comment was, we're limiting here these parking areas on residential lots to concrete or permeable pavers. does that mean that anyone who has crushed shell, grassed pavers, or decomposed granite, which are all eco-friendly and permeable, are they then therefore not in compliance with the code? Because, and again, that's one of those that seems more restrictive as well.
I don't know the answer to your question regarding the materials. Evan Johnson is here from our planning team, and he might have some information on that. That's kind of beyond the scope of this particular amendment. This particular amendment derived as one package to encourage cars from not parking in the right-of-way, like on sidewalks, across sidewalks and whatnot. And this is another council-generated amendment that came to us because there was discussion at the dais that they just want to get cars up into the driveway and out of the sidewalks. We get a lot of complaints from our neighborhoods of sidewalks being blocked.
This does include the materials for those driveways though as well. So that's where I commented, got the comment for the.
I don't recall that provision of this particular amendment. I can go back and look at that text. I brought it with me.
Okay. But yeah, so my comments were on garage sizes. Evan, I don't know if you can speak to that, and then the materials and the tandem parking, or just some. Those are some of my thoughts.
It's definitely not new. The materials isn't new language. That would be in the existing code. I've actually worked on this amendment, and it was strictly to the length of the driveway, the tandem, the depth of the garage. It's a relatively new amendment.
Okay, I can look back then.
Yeah, you got to be careful with Tampa. I do the same thing sometimes. I'm reading through it in the definition section. I was doing that. I was like, "What is this?" And then I was like, "Oh, that's something that's been there."
Because that didn't strike me at all familiar from this particular initiative.
It's underlined, so does that?
Then it's new if it's
Yeah.
underlined.
Yeah, it's 27-283.17 E. All residential uses should be required to provide a hard surface parking area made of concrete and/or permeable paver material.
So that language is in the code. We took it out of a section and brought it into a brand new section. That .17 is all new language, but that provision came from an existing piece of the code. We just brought it down into that language because we were talking about the residential parking arrangements.
Okay.
Yeah, that .17 is all new. And I'll go back and look and verify, but that's my recollection of that one.
Okay, so is the interior garage size new, or is that not new?
Yeah, the specifics of the depth of the garage is new.
Okay. Is there a reason why that was incorporated in here?
It's going to be an option for people if they want to use the parking that is under the roof of the house in their parking count. It has to meet a certain depth. And the reason that is provided as an option is because if it's too narrow in depth, then the car can't really fit in there. And we've heard a lot of complaints about this over the last couple of years about the size of garage, and are they really practical? Are people really using them for cars? No, they're using them for storage and whatnot. And so the option is if you want to use the garage as to your parking count, then it has to be usable space for a car.
I didn't see where it says that you have to do that in order for it to be counted towards parking. I just saw where it said that you have to provide, if you're going to provide a garage, it has to be these dimensions.
Because as you come in as a applicant, you show us how you're going to meet your parking requirements for that site. So that's when zoning looks at the whole picture and decides you tell us how you're going to fit your 2 spots, if you need 2 spots.
Right.
If you say they're going to be in the garage, then the garage has to be 22 feet and 20 feet wide so it can actually accommodate 2 cars.
So, for example, I have a garage that's 18 feet wide and it fits 2 cars. If I were to be building a new home and wanted my garage to be 18 feet wide, I wouldn't be able to build that garage?
If you're using if you're using the garage to store the vehicles, then it would have to meet the new code, yes. A new development would have to meet the new code.
Okay. But why did we do it that way?
Right. It's an option.
Okay, so yeah, it's just so the city regulates parking spaces even for single-family detached. And so if the garage was too small to fit the car under the proposed standards, then the applicant would need a waiver for parking because they would not be able to fit the vehicle in the garage.
Well, but
that's what Dana's saying when she's like, it needs to be usable to
Right.
park. So there is still an option that the garage could be smaller. It's just not going to count towards your parking.
So say I'm building a townhome complex and I need to do 18-foot garages so they fit. I have an 18-foot garage and it fits 2 cars. I would have no parking then if I used 18-foot garages for townhomes?
Yeah, you have to, when you come in with a site plan, it has to meet the standards of the code. So we have to have assurance that your parking is met. So
Okay.
you as an architect would design your product to fit that lot and allow for the required parking. If you want it to be interior to the structure, then you have to have a certain size of a garage. Otherwise, it can be just a tiny little storage room on the side of the house, and then you're meeting your parking out in your driveway.
Okay. To me, it feels like an overreach because an 18-foot garage can fit 2 cars. So if it doesn't count as a garage, then it doesn't feel like that's an appropriate standard. Or if it doesn't count as parking, that feels like it's an inappropriate standard. So
Yeah, this
that's
was
just my thought.
council asked us to prepare an amendment to address the issue of driveway parking and driveway parking spilling out into the right-of-way.
Okay.
All right. Good points, Commissioner Sieben. 18 feet is wide enough to fit 2 vehicles. I am an architect, so I do know. So it'll be interesting to see this come back. But Commissioner Kress, please go ahead.
I wanted to just echo the comments you were making. I think it's very astute. I feel like we're basically trying to encourage people to buy larger vehicles. And if we really want to solve the problem of people blocking sidewalks, then we should be ticketing them. So it feels like it's a lot of extra rules just to really address what the root issue is. People buying really big cars and people blocking sidewalks. I would love to see no parking requirements, period. What if I want to buy a house or build a house and I don't want to own a car? Then I'm paying a lot of unnecessary funds, to begin with for that. So you guys know I have a parking soapbox.
Good points, Commissioner Kress. Any other comments from the commissioners? Not seeing any, we'll turn it back over to you.
Okay. Number 4, the Seminole Heights Build-To line. This would define the Build-To line and clarify how it is measured. Currently, it's not defined, and this would add standards for measuring it as well as depictions within the proposed language as well.
Questions, comments on this one? Commissioners, not seeing any, we'll give it back to you.
All right, number 5, alternative designs. This would repeal existing language, require notice for all alternative designs, and standardizes reductions in setbacks. The proposed language seeks to combine the type of design exceptions to have the same process for all alternative designs, which includes regulations for requiring public notice and not just those requesting the setback, as well as standardizing the reductions in the setbacks.
All right, questions on this one? Not seeing any, turn it back over to you.
And the next one is the site plan requirements for design exceptions in the Variance Review Board. This is a new section that creates minimum standards for the site plans that will be submitted for the 2 processes. Currently, the code doesn't have anything specific for site plans, and applicants submit a variety of documents. So this would standardize it for a site plan to be the same for everything.
Right. Questions, comments from the commissioners? Seeing any? Nope. Commissioner Sieben?
So this isn't on this, but I was just thinking about what Commissioner Kress said, and I think her point is very forward-thinking because, at some point in the future, we probably will have autonomous vehicles. I mean, it looks like that's going to be the future. So what do we need multiple garage spaces as a requirement for meeting standards within the city as a precursor to being able to build a home? Just a thought.
All right. Good comment, Commissioner Sieben. Any more comments from the commissioners? Questions? Not seeing any. Give it back to you.
The next one is approvals by the ARC administrator. The decisions by the ARC administrator are repealed to the ARC. This language would be consistent for what was adopted under the BLC several cycles ago. This is same language.
All right. Any questions, discussions, commissioners? Not seeing any. We'll give it back to you.
Special use criteria. This would amend the language for extended family residences to allow the use within non-conforming structures. Currently, extended family residences are required to be within conforming structures, and if a residence is owner-occupied. This amendment would allow for non-conforming structures to be utilized, as well as the property must just be homesteaded. It does not have to be owner-occupied.
All right. Questions, thoughts on this one from the commissioners? Yep, Commissioner Buzzard, sorry.
Turn on?
Yeah, it's.
The two changes in there kind of threw me in 27-132. The first one was change from may pay rent to shall not pay rent. These structures, I assume it's kind of like a glorified mother-in-law suite, right, is what we're talking about. Once this current homeowner sells this property, are future owners bound to this annual affidavit and shall not pay rent? Because that's kind of your, you'd have an impingement on the use of your property, I guess is.
Dana Crosby Collier. When the city council considers the request for an extended family residence, that's part of the criteria that they look at is, it generally is a family member who's moving in. And we look at whether or not they actually are not supposed to pay rent. That's the standard. So this is clarifying that they won't be paying rent. That should go with the property as you sell it. Whether or not it's recorded and in the title would be a matter of whether or not the owner records that. But we do put all of our findings and all of our requirements into the public records, and we also do the annual inspection. So it would run with the land. This particular amendment came out as a staff-initiated amendment, just trying to clean it up a little bit and make it a little more flexible. Sometimes the person that lives in the big house is the parent, and then their kids are coming along and they want to give their kid the big house, and they'll live out in the extended family residence, but they're the owner. So we're trying to just give a little more flexibility to our EFR process.
Again, maybe I'm missing the point there. So if this family with the mother or the father and the extra unit sells, that would
Yes.
carry on to the next
Yes, it
owner?
would. It will run with the land, yes, sir.
So usage of that space would require the annual affidavit?
Yeah, we do an annual, Evan?
Even-
No, I was just going
even
to
if they
Evan
no
Johnson,
longer-
City Planning. No, I was just going to add that if it was to be used as an EFR, I mean, it's a part of the house and the house structure, right? But if it is to be used as an extended family residence, then yes, under the code. They would have to file the affidavit. The big differential is between an accessory dwelling unit and an EFR, and those EFRs are allowed almost everywhere in the city.
Determined by an exterior door that accesses for that area? Really, is that really the defining characteristic of a separate living area, is its own door?
It has more to do with the payment of rent, because you can have an exterior door on an EFR or on an ADU. It has to do with the payment of rent and being able to rent out to a non-related person or persons. And so that's the primary difference between the two. And an ADU typically has to have some type of kitchen or cooking equipment as well.
Okay.
So those are the primary difference. So if you had
And
new-
I'm
Yeah.
actually think this is a great idea, but I am concerned about how the next owner is then, are they in compliance? Are they getting code citations? You know, that sort of thing.
Right.
And how that's disclosed, or if it's not disclosed by the Realtor, but,
Yeah, it's renewed annually, your permit.
okay. Thank you.
Mr. Seaman.
Isn't there another one of these Senate bills that's going to like mandate allowance for ADUs throughout the state, or is that pending? Or
It's hard to say. Dana Crosby Collier, City Attorney's Office, we were tracking a bill through the entire session. It went to the bitter end. It went back and forth between the House and Senate. It was presented by Senator Gates of the Panhandle region to allow ADUs, really to preempt cities with regard to ADUs. But there was a lot of disagreement between the House and the Senate on some of the language in that bill, and it did not survive the session. However, we have heard that it is one that will probably come back.
Okay, thanks.
Commissioner Kugler.
Thank you. I don't want, there was language that you used, which was, I don't want to belabor this. If everybody else understands this, it's just confusing to me. The idea that it has to be, I believe the term was this property has to be homesteaded but not owner occupied. Seems to me as a contradiction in terms, but I don't want to take up everybody's time. If somebody else can explain it to me later after the hours, that'd be great.
Good
No,
point.
that's a very good point.
question.
I'm happy to answer that, Dana Crosby Collier. The current language in the code requires the main resident to be the homesteaded property. If your family moves into the main residence and you live in the extended family area, you're not, as Evan said, charging rent, so it's going to remain homesteaded.
Right. Are there any other questions, discussion items on this one? Right. We'll send it back to you.
All right, the next one is the 27-156, Table 4-2, the elimination of footnote 7. This allowed a reduction in setbacks for the preservation of trees. The new language will require either a variance or a design exception, because currently the code allows for the setbacks when they're preserving a grand tree, and there have been issues with people using that to gain more of a setback than they probably should.
All right. Any questions, discussions on this one? Nope. Send it back to you.
All right. The next one is to utilize an arborist report for any tree removal. They're just moving forward in that direction. Any tree, use an arborist report for it.
All right. Any questions from the commissioners, discussions? Commissioner Seaman?
So any tree at all, or just grand trees?
I believe it's grand trees, but we're going to verify.
Okay, thank you.
It's a grand tree. To answer your question.
It's any grand tree?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions, comments from the commissioners? We'll send it back to you.
The next one is the landscape area and tree planting requirements. This would remove the need for single-family attached to provide a buffer to other use groups. Currently, single-family attached are required to provide a 5-foot to a 15-foot buffer depending on the use group, and this amendment would allow a 0-foot buffer for all use groups.
Are there any questions, comments from the commissioners on this one? Almost there, Emily. Back to you.
All right, this is our final one. It's air conditioning and pool equipment. This would create new standards for generators, and it would address properties that are located in flood zones. Currently, the code addresses air-conditioned units and pool equipment, but it does not address generators, the generator stand, electrical meter platforms, or anything like that. And it also has requirements for them to be elevated out of flood zones.
All right. Any questions, comments from the commissioners on this one? Seeing any, just checking for questions or comments overall again, because this is it, yes?
Yeah, so overall, this is going to come to us individually, right? Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
this will come back individually on August 11th, and we'll run through all of them one by one.
Okay. No, but are you asking if they're going to come back as individual items, or you?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
You'll take action on each
one.
one.
Okay, thank you.
individually, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, thank you. Oh, Commissioner Seaman.
Sorry. So is there going to be a review of that provision that we talked about the more restrictive stuff before they come before us?
Dana Crosby Collier, City Attorney's Office. We're looking at those now.
Okay.
I don't know if we'll be prepared when it comes back to you. We certainly will present the information when it goes to City Council.
Okay, thanks.
What's the time difference between the presentation for us and City Council?
That's a great question. Do we know when
Kind of an answer
when
is-
these go to City Council after the Planning Commission next month?
I didn't bring the whole folder with me that had the schedule of dates. I want to say September for first reading and then October for second reading. It will be shortly after you all hear it, but we have to advertise it and get it on the agenda. So, yeah, I think it was September and then maybe early October.
All right. Commissioner
Evan's
Siebel?
checking our PowerPoint.
Am I wrong in thinking that if we do go by Senate bill, we'd almost have to vote no on most of these if we do look at it through that lens? Because they're more restrictive?
So when you all make your recommendation to City Council, the way we prepare our ordinance is we prepare 2 recitals. Once, this is kind of new for us, but we prepare 2 recitals. The first recital is the amendments that the Planning Commission has recommended that council approve. And then the second recital is, and the Planning Commission has recommended council not approve this, this, and this. And then that's a part of the whole record that goes to City Council in the ordinance.
So to answer your question, I do think we would need to look at, ultimately the basis for your review is consistency with the adopted comprehensive plan. We'd need to look in the comprehensive plan to see if there's policy about compliance with state statute.
Sure.
And whether or not that would then factor into the consistency finding.
Sure.
But yes, I mean, I think we'll certainly try to draw out where a number of these are providing things that are maybe making it more flexible or easier, and then those that maybe are not.
Yeah, it's a very subjective standard, what is more restrictive and burdensome, and unfortunately, they do this a lot, but they don't define it in Tallahassee. So it's up to us to look at them subjectively as to what we believe is burdensome and what is not. It's not defined.
Okay, so staff will have a recommendation for us from the comp plan to say whether or not we need to be in compliance with state statute, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Which
I
recommend?
just don't, off the top of my head, don't have in my head what policy or
Sure,
objective
yeah.
says that, but I believe the comprehensive plan has something about the plan and the land, all development being consistent with state statutes and land development codes. So we'll have to take a look at what the plan says as it relates to it, because our basis of review is not solely does it meet the statute, it's whether it meets the plan.
Right.
Am I saying that right, Tracy?
Yes, I think it's also important for purposes of this discussion, to remind you that, the Planning Commission is a recommending agency.
Sure.
It's the local government who would make it local law that would want to make sure that their legal counsel had
Okay.
found that they either felt like it was too restrictive or it would pass muster for purposes of moving it forward.
Okay, so just to clarify, if we made a decision that was wrong for, in terms of saying, we have to be in compliance with state statute by not approving anything that's more restrictive, right? And say we made the wrong decision because it is restrictive and we passed it anyway, we wouldn't be in trouble for doing that, or would we?
I don't think so. It's going to be the local government who actually implements it and makes it local law that's going to carry that responsibility.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
I'm assuming you don't disagree with that.
No, it's going to be in an ordinance. Yes, it'll be adopted by council.
All right. Are there any more, before we let Emily go, any more questions, comments, or discussions on this one? Yeah. Not seeing any. Well, thank you for the information. And we will move on to our final presentation, 5J, Unincorporated Hillsborough County Land Development Code Text Amendment, LDC 25-0957, subdivision of parcels on septic tank in the urban service area. And the presenter is Tyreek Royal.
Good evening, Tyreek Royal, Planning Commission staff, and I'll be introducing Israel Monsanto from Development Services, and he'll brief this item.
Thank you, Commissioners. Israel Monsanto, Development Services. We only have one item, not a lot. So this is the workshop for 25-957. There will be a first public hearing with the Board of County Commissioners on July 22nd, then your consistency finding on August 11th, and then a second and final public hearing in front of the Board of County Commissioners on August 12th. So again, this is a land development code from Hillsborough County. This amendment will revise the requirement for sanitary sewer connection for development in the urban service area. Section 40202 currently requires that new development within the urban service area connect to a public-owned and operated wastewater system. Code section 40302 provides exceptions to that section 40202 requirements. There was previously an exception that allowed within the urban service area the subdivision of a parcel of land into 2 parcels, or potentially actually 3 parcels, with an approved variance, and non-residential development with an equivalent wastewater impact if connection to a wastewater line did not meet feasibility criteria. Now, in 2020, the code was amended to remove that exception for applications filed after December 31st, 2020. Subsequent to the elimination of the exception, allowing subdivisions into 2 or potentially 3 lots, numerous property owners seeking to subdivide existing lots within the urban service area into 2 lots where there are no proximate wastewater lines have found multiple challenges, resulting in the cost of line extensions, not to be cost feasible for the construction of an additional home, leaving property owners with limited or not options to subdivide or bear the full cost to connect to wastewater lines. In addition to that, with the recent expansion of the urban service area in the southern areas of our county, staff anticipates an increase in these scenarios given the existing rural zoning districts and the limited wastewater infrastructure there. So section 40302 would be amended to add the exceptions again to section 40202 requirements as previously permitted. This amendment again would allow the subdivision of an existing lot within the urban service area into 2 lots, potentially 3 lots where there are no proximate wastewater lines without the need of a variance. Again, this is for property within the urban service area. And this is as previously provided by the Land Development Code. And that concludes my presentation.
All right. Mr. Sieben.
So is this the case? So I just want to walk through a scenario. Say you have 50 acres, right? And it's, 1 home per 5 acres, for example. You can only subdivide into 2 or at maximum 3 without upgrading to the sewer system. Is that correct?
Well, this is in the urban service area.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there are different criteria. So you have to meet zoning code, zoning district. So you have to meet the minimum lot size. So you have to, you have to understand, okay, so like you said, so I can't have like 5 acres or like half acre, depending on the zoning the zoning district you are. So actually, I may have a copy of the amendment. So for example, the criteria would be, so a parent parcel of lot of record established under the code may be subdivided to create up to 2 additional lots, provided that the county administrator finds and determines that. So the first one is all resulting parcel comply with zoning and other provisions of the code. So you have to meet your minimum lot size to create each lot. Second, the permitted intensity of development shall not exceed 1 equivalent residential connection to each lot, or a cumulative intensity of development of 3 equivalent residential connections. And also, again, the cost of solid wastewater or water services to the resulting parcel exceeds the cost defined by the technical manual feasibility criteria. So it all depends on your minimum lot size. So you could divide up to 3, but it all depends on how many lots can I get from those 50 acres that you're saying. Right. Typically, and this is based on what we find, is that you have maybe like a 1 or 2 or 3 acre lot, and you are allowed to subdivide it in 1 acre if the zoning allows it. And this code would allow to go to up to the 3rd lot without even asking permission or waivers, assuming you meet the minimum lot size. But if you don't, then you maybe only get 2 lots, which is okay. So, and you still can be on septic. You don't have to connect to the closest wastewater line because the cost is going to be too high for that property owner.
Is there a way that we could ask the county do a consideration for lots that are, over a certain size, maybe over 20 acres or something, some special consideration? Because if you can if you want 4 family members to come live there and you have 50 or 100 acres and you can't upgrade all of that to the sewer system,
No, we can certainly look at it, but again, it all depends on your zoning.
Well,
You may be allowed that today, actually, because you are, if you are outside the urban service area, then you don't have that problem, because like you said, you can, you provide your septic as long as you are half acre or larger, right? But in this case, in the urban service area, you will be allowed to do to the third lot. But we can look at minimum.
So, but only up to 3 up to 3 in the urban service area. So it can still be expensive if you have larger swaths of land that have now been, which was what we're doing, moving things into the urban service area.
Well, at that point, if you have a subdivision, you are creating a subdivision, then you have to connect.
Well, yes, but we still have a lot of mom and pops who don't want to sell all of their land, but they want to sell off a portion of their land to retire, whatever it is. So for those individuals, maybe a special consideration is my only thought.
Well, and I would just say that is generally exactly what the provision is trying to respond to. Was at the urban service area expansion hearing. I think it was particularly came up in the Balm area. There were some landowners who said, maybe they we're not, I don't know whether they were okay with going in the urban service area, but one of their concerns was, if we're in the urban service area and we want to split our property, we're now required to connect to water and sewer. And I think you brought up at the time, shouldn't there be some consideration for them to not have to connect to water and sewer? So this is the standard that the county had prior to, I think you said 2020. And it had been in place, I don't know for how long, that this was, but they had required a variance if you wanted the second. So you could split your property in 2, but then you had to go through the process of asking for a variance. And my understanding is the county's removed the variance requirement because like almost 100% of the variances were approved. So why were we making people go through the variance for the third lot? So that's they're trying to address the issue that came up at our hearing, actually.
Well, maybe then the answer is a variance if they're requesting more than 3, and then it's, a special consideration and administrative approval or something.
Got it? Thanks. All right. Any other, Commissioner Buzzer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I actually like this. I think this is a great idea to put this back. I think the prior county commission kind of stubbed their toe when they took this out. My question is more along the lines of my negative banker way. There's no definition of technically feasible. Is there a linear distance to a county-maintained sewer line that would trigger technically feasible?
Well, I believe the technical manual that is utilized by our utilities services staff is actually what is being determined, and they are the ones who are trying to work it out with some owners. Hey, this is the length of the from the connection to the nearest line, and this is what it's gonna cost. So they look at the technical manuals and then they provide that information to the property owners, whether that's a feasibility problem for the owner at that point.
So it's not actually defined in code, then it would be up to county engineers and that sort of thing?
I will have to look it up.
Okay. No, that's fine.
But I don't.
It should be like 500 linear feet to the nearest city or county.
Yeah, we could
sewer line or
come
something along
back
those
at the
lines.
next meeting.
Again, I
with-
like putting this back in code, but just technical feasibility is vague enough that.
A good point.
They can look at it more. Don't forget, this is a briefing, so it's got to come back before us. So it might behoove them to have that information when it comes back, at least for one voter. So. Are there any other questions, comments, discussions on this one? Not seeing any, then we'll thank you, Mr. Monsanto. And we will move on to our Executive Director's Report, item number 6. And the presenter is Melissa Zornita.
Thank you so much. Melissa Zornita, Executive Director. You have in front of you my report, which outlines a number of things that have been ongoing in the last month. Because we're getting short on time and there's a large crowd coming for the next meeting, I'll be brief and just highlight that we successfully had our FLIP program again. They were here at the last meeting, but that concluded later that week. We've also had quite a bit of work that we've been doing in response to Tampa City Council's direction at their May hearing, that we come back with and do some additional outreach on a couple of provisions in the city plan update for the future land use section. We had 2 engagement meetings at the end of June, which were intended just to kind of provide an overview of what was proposed. And now we are embarking on a world tour of Tampa to meet with as many neighborhoods as we can between now and early August. We've got a meeting set up in each of the city council districts, as well as we've been invited to a number of neighborhood associations, the first one of which was on July 7th with West Tampa Heights, and we've got 2 or 3 every week coming up. The intention in all of these meetings is that we want to have some productive conversation with the neighborhoods around specifically the transit-ready corridors and the areas where density bonuses will be allowed along those, and the criteria in the residential 10 land use category for where attached single-family would be allowed, and providing them some different options to give us feedback on about that. So one option is obviously what we proposed, and then some modifications from there. So we look forward to seeing a lot of folks at those meetings. A couple of other things I wanted to touch on related to Senate Bill 180. One thing that I did not mention when we were talking about it before was that it does still allow for privately initiated amendments that might be more restrictive or burdensome. So we have at least one applicant who is moving forward with something with the county under that. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear. Another major project we've been working on has been the update of the Plant City Comprehensive Plan. One of the things we talked about, I think last year at your retreat, was the idea of having more joint meetings with the local government elected officials. And Plant City's very interested in us having a joint meeting with them to talk about, as we embark on the update, the date that they provided to us, because their meetings are the second Monday of every month, which is a conflict every month with your meeting, and the fourth Monday of the month. And they wanted to see about your availability on November 24th, which is the Monday before Thanksgiving. So wanted to get some feedback from you all. We can send it out in an email for you to reply yes or no, because we need to make it worthwhile. It's best for the majority of you all to be able to attend. But after the meeting, if anybody knows offhand that doesn't work, please let me know. Another topic that we wanted to address, and if we don't have enough time for the discussion tonight, we can, you all can give me feedback next month. We've had a number of requests as we've gotten a lot of these large public comment amendments, where people want to be able to email all the planning commissioners. And so if they do request that, we provide them a list of all of your email addresses, the plancom.org email addresses, so that all the emails are captured in public record. One thing we thought of to perhaps streamline that was to create a distribution list where we could give people an email address like my planning commissioners at plancom.org, and then it would send out to all of you. It would copy me to, because that's one thing that we worry about when we give them all of your email addresses is that then they won't copy staff on it, and we would capture all of it. So if that is something that you all would be open to, it may mean that there are more emails in your plancom.org email address if it's easier for them with just one email address. But at any rate, I just wanted to get feedback on that. Then in the rest of my report, it does cover some of the plan amendments for Plant City and for the county, which were adopted in June. And I'd be happy to answer any questions on those or anything else.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Any questions, comments, discussions? Not seeing any. Well, thank you
Okay.
for the information.
Thank you.
And let you off the hook and move on to our next agenda item, number 7, other business, chair's business. I have no business. Old business, there is no business. Anyone have any new business for us? Not seeing any. And we'll turn it over to committee reports. Are there any committee reports out there? I do have one committee report. I think we had our public hearing after our meeting last time for the LRTP. I don't think I told you about that. So we did our tip, and it got approved after a little bit of discussion. And the TPO priority list also got approved. And one other thing that's pretty important that got approved that kind of flew under the radar was the regional MPO consultant selection. So that process, the regional MPO Voltron link up is still going on, and we're trying to move it along as best we can. So that's pretty much it. Not too much excitement, a lot of different opinions at the meeting, but we seem to be able to put it to a vote, and the vote was to do what pretty much the TPO staff told us. So no one got their way except for the TPO staff, which seemed pretty fair. So that was it from our last MPO meeting. So does anybody have any questions about anything there for me? No? Not seeing any. And I'll put it out one more time for committee reports from anyone else. Not seeing any. Then that is the end of this meeting. And what time are we going to start the next one? Should 5?
Let's say 5:30.
Go long. Yeah, okay. So we'll say that the public hearing is going to start at 5:30, and we'll see you then. And at 5:07, this regular meeting is adjourned. Good evening.